falls somewhere between, let's say, someone who wants to find a spouse, so someone who's looking at marriage, and someone who's just looking at a one-night stand. For me personally, dating falls right in between, where it's just about getting to know someone, having fun with them, being able to go out and do things, and you have shared interests perhaps, spending time with somebody, and if it leads to something more, great.
I think it's also important as adults, you need to give a snapshot of who you are, because nobody really has the time in the world to go through your entire history. Be very clear on what you're looking for so that the person who's reading it will know exactly if they fill into that bracket or not. Tell them like the two important things that they really need to know. Like for me, it's really important that the person is a dog lover. Don't be too generic where everybody starts liking you. Kind of give a very specific thing that only you have a special attribute which will attract the right crowd. Ask a question at the end of your dating profile, because that always triggers like, I want to answer that, because the intellectual kinds, the ones who like conversing, will be like, oh, this is interesting, I want to answer back.
Profile is one thing, guys, and there's someone who's starting to date. The first question that they have is like, should I get into Tinder or Bumble, or what app is what I'm looking for? Sometimes the app also matches our personalities, is what I understand.
So I was first so against Tinder because I associated it with hookup culture. And I was like, oh my God, anybody who sees me is going to think that I want to hook up. Like, that's the association. But what I found is that if you can pick an app with a design that basically answers like 12 questions before you start a conversation, then that's quite helpful. Let's say you don't want to date a smoker. Bumble will let you know. There's a little icon there which says smoker, likes to drink, political views. Another big one for women especially are looking at having kids in the future. You don't want to like fall in love with someone who doesn't want kids and find out later. So if you can get that question cleared just from a one glance at a profile, wants kids, doesn't want kids, it saves you that awkward conversation. You also have a sense of the person's priorities. Like on Hinge, you get the person's birthday. On Bumble, you get their star sign. Whereas on Tinder, you've just got a face, how far away they are, and like 3 lines. That's not a lot to go on. So I think based on your priorities, find an app that's going to answer more questions before you meet the person.
We also see those fake accounts. We don't even know they are men, women, or who we are talking to. So sometimes, how do you verify a person you're chatting with?
I try to verify to see if they actually are there. I go on LinkedIn, I put in their name. Once they've given me their name, I try to check out if they actually are, because they will be there at least somewhere. And this is only with people that I'm really interested in. I don't do this for everyone that I'm kind of meeting there. I don't know. I mean, this is a little way into the dating, but when people start talking about money transfer and stuff like that, like they say, they are like, I have an NGO and I'm looking for funds, and then ta-dang, it's like, you're like, okay, this is not somebody here who's for dating. Obviously, they're looking at something else. So
you want to look at the content, and it's a gamble. So the conversation starters are gamble. I've experienced myself personally where you shoot something, you try to be funny, and you end up like an idiot, and you're blocked or she disappears. So, it's a gamble. You have to take, don't beat yourself up, because you don't know what kind of mood the other person is in. They might be in a low state or upbeat, or very particular about certain things. Like, you need to have 4 or 5 different ways of starting a conversation. You can talk about a fun fact, or you could maybe ask a question about a particular photo. It's like, oh, you went for some wine tasting, was that a Sula, or kind of thing. So you're trying to refer to certain snippets there, and which probably get her or him involved in that conversation. So I would say there is no formula as such. You need to read the situation, you need to read the profile, put in an effort, and give it a go.
Conversation is so very important to me, and so much so that I have put it as a criteria in my profile, ability to have a good conversation, because I found myself asking all the questions, getting to know a lot about this person, and at the end they'd say, So tell me about yourself. And that's it. Like, that was the best, most interesting question that I would get. Go with what you like and what you know. I am huge on superhero movies. Like The Dark Knight is one of my favorites. But instead of saying which was the last movie you saw, or are you excited about the new Black Widow movie, I'd possibly say, like, if you could pick out of all, if you could pick like one superpower, or okay, just or two, like what would it be? And it makes the person think. It leads to a conversation thread. That's fun. I'm also really big on food, so I try to weave that in. What is one meal that you could eat for the rest of your life and not get bored? That's a great one.
Being straightforward is not the same thing as being blunt. Those are two different things. But you also have to, I mean, if you're recognizing the fact that we're all online and we're struggling to connect, you can't see the person in front of you, all of that, you need to be as straightforward as possible. So for a lot of times people complain about the fact that they're not understood. The question is, are you allowing yourself to be understood in the first place? And that's not about giving personal information necessarily, but it's just about how open and straightforward you are. You're going to find out something later on about the person which doesn't really sync with you. That's a waste of time. You might as well be upfront about it.
If at all you want to be genuine, and sometimes you come out to be very aggressive, or you come out to be very blunt, and you like to say certain things in the face of others that might be taken in a different way. So how do you make your standards known?
Like, set your standards high. Like, if it's like, after your second or third conversation, I get comfortable with people pretty soon, so I am like, I should be taken out, or we have to go out together. It's like, I'm not going to be sitting here behind the screen, making our relationship work. For me, I'm not interested in long distance relationships for that matter. Yes, if the guy is away, but it's like you're working towards meeting up, and he must follow through, like with whatever he says. I mean, and that's a very important factor, is don't make false promises. Don't just talk in the air. Don't talk that rosy language to impress somebody, because it will, like, very soon it's going to kind of fall flat. So make sure that you are following through with whatever you say. Treat you with respect. Yeah. That's a non-negotiable for me. I think that is my minimum standard requirement, is he has to treat you with respect, regardless of what anything might be. The one thing I will say, which I've learned like through trial and error, is, when you find someone interesting on a dating scene, you've got to focus on them. I see a lot of people who are dabbling with 6 people at the same time on a serious note. Trust me, you'll end up with nobody.
There's another very important topic. While we talked a little bit about playing coy, sometimes it's time pass for us, sometimes it's time pass for somebody else. We become a time pass for someone. Like, how do you spot a red flag?
First of all, you need to know what's important to you. Like, if being valued in terms of time is important, and you are on an app, and someone is sort of dipping in and dipping out, but you want to have a continuous thread of conversation, something that you could do without being aggressive would be to just say, hey, I really like to have a continuous thread. I don't want to break in flow. Can you set a time? That would be you initiating and also explaining that this is a standard, that your time is important. And then if you find out that they're being flaky around that, that's a red flag as well, that they don't, value your time. Someone asks you for like nude pictures, it would not be wise to send it to a stranger. Those are obvious ones. Sexist comments, that's a red flag. If it's really important to you that you be treated as an equal. Ooh, this is a good one. All of my exes are crazy. That's a good
flag. Yeah. Yeah. Talking about their exes, that says a lot.
Just try and observe how you feel when you're talking to that person, whether you're texting or on a call or on a video call. If you feel special at the end of it, like Priya said, seasoned makes me feel special. If you feel special at the end of a conversation, or if you feel happy, that is a really good indicator. But if you feel stupid, for instance, and you don't really know why, that's a reason to pay attention, because there might be like little bobs that you didn't really notice in that conversation. So I think it's really important to pay attention to how you're feeling.
All right. And while we're talking about all of these serious topics, sometimes it just kind of stresses out people when they are on the dating site and they're just there for 15 days and then they get tired or they get bored or they just, a lot of my friends say they are heartbroken, they couldn't find someone, or there's too much of drama in the dating site and things like that. While you're dating, what is your mantra? How do you have fun? How do you make that whole experience of dating fun?
My purpose of dating is not to just hook up with someone, and it's not to necessarily find a spouse. It's right in between where I just want to meet people. I have a lot of friends, a lot of women friends already. So I'm not on a dating app to make friends. I'm there to find someone who I get along with, who I would enjoy spending time with, and hopefully have a physical or a sexual chemistry with as well. That's the hope. Having said that, if it doesn't happen and we just don't click that way, I'm fine being friends. So for me, there's no pressure, and it's just about having fun.
So in a pandemic, especially, you're like, how do I have fun if I'm not even sure like whether we're gonna meet, not meet? I'm very curious, and I have like diverse interests. So I'm dating someone right now, and he made me a playlist. I made him a playlist. Now we're collaborating on making multiple playlists. That's fun. I like weird facts. He sent me a link to a penis museum. It's a thing, and I was like, oh my god, this is so exciting. And I went on a tour to the penis museum because I didn't know that it existed.
I'm sure everybody in this call is going to Google penis museum after the call. We're all curious.
Also, I'm a big foodie. I write about food. I basically get paid to eat. And the person that I am talking to right now, we had this fun plan that he would send me something that would be a surprise, and I wouldn't know what it was going to be. And then I would send him something that was going to be a surprise. So we had a virtual date. No one knew what food the other person was getting, completely different cuisines. That was fun.
This is fun. This is absolutely fun. This is fun. Unless otherwise it gets creepier at the end. Some people, men and women always talk about this one, right? Where you want to have fun, but then in your own terms. And sometimes it becomes very clingy. Men also become clingy, or women become clingy. So that's my last question to you guys. How do you call it off when you don't match?
I have been ghosted by men like nobody's business, and I've always wondered, at least have the courtesy to say it didn't work out. Don't just disappear. So you don't have to get along with everyone, and that's totally fine. But I feel, like I said in the beginning, you've got to respect the person you're interacting with. If you've met someone else who's caught your fancy, again, don't mislead them. Just tell them that, I met someone else, it's serious. It was lovely talking to you. All the best in your search. I've appreciated men like that.
One situation, we had a date, and I dropped her back home. And about half an hour later, she texted me saying, hey, you're a nice person, but I just didn't feel any chemistry that way. And I said, thank you. Thanks so much for being upfront about it. And I stepped away because I didn't want to keep in touch with her. And I've always said that even if there's no chemistry, we can still be friends. But I didn't want to keep pinging her and stuff and make her think that this guy's not getting the message. So yeah, if you're upfront about it and just mature about it, I think that's just, it can lead to something even better perhaps. So